Hi, my name is Monessa Esquivel. I'm an artist, and this is Una Plática. Una Plática.
Una Plática.
Una Plática.
Say Plática.
Una Plática. Una Plática. My inspiration, I feel, came from just the beginning of my childhood. Usually, generally, growing up in my neighborhood, that was like the most accessible thing that we had was paper and pencils. So I just remember always drawing when I was little, doodles of what I looked at, being outside. It always was just a part of what I did when I was a child, along with playing outside and with the others. But yeah, usually since the beginning, since I was a child. So I started professionally creating my art when I was in Palo Alto College. It was like my first time ever really diving into art. As far as like being in college, junior college, I feel is like a really good introduction. It was teatro first, so it was theater and drawing. So I took drawing one class, and that professor is still there, Alba de Leon. I took drawing one with a lot of the professors that were there, and Mark Hoganson. So they taught me about technique, how to be able to do the basic skills for drawing. A lot of my drawings were of still lifes and like certain projects for sketchbooks. I later on transferred to Texas Tech University for a short time, and there was a Chicana artist that was there that I took drawing with as well, more on the university level instead of the junior college level. And that's when I really learned on my own how to really do professional drawing. Never really had a show, but maintained just being able to draw with either graphite and mainly some of the supplies that we would always use for drawing. I know I really loved to draw with those materials. I feel like they were easy to use, and most of the times the still lifes were really amazing when I would finish them. I liked architecture as well. Do I consider myself a Chicana artist? Living in San Antonio and being raised in San Antonio does have its influences on you. I do consider myself Chicana in the reflection of my art. It is there, but not necessarily now at this point in the present moment, because I am starting to really try to discover other themes with art. It is an influence as far as the landscape in my artwork. A lot of it has to do with mainly natural elements, but Chicanismo, as we say, was probably part of my life. So I feel like I show that in my everyday life. If it's a reflection in my artwork, usually our artwork is a reflection of us. So being Chicana is, for me, being proud of who you are. And it's kind of a loose term, even though it is relatively something that came out of the civil rights movement. But for myself, being Chicana is probably the closest that I could probably identify myself as. My culture now, from evolving from having so specific as when I started in the arts, it went to teatro, which is theater. And I started off in an experimental theater company. It was a professor that I was taking in college that he was part of the company, so I was able to work for them for about 7 years. And it was on all realms. When you're involved in the arts, you kind of have all the jobs. So it was education, artistry, working with people as far as like managing shows, house managing. So I dove into a lot. From there, I feel like it gave me that avenue of doing experimental through arts. So me, I'm a very, I want to say non-traditional artist. Right now, as far as my culture now, it will have to be more of the abstract, surrealist, and cubist world. The study of metaphysics and how that is involved in art for myself. As far as the beginning parts of abstract artists, the last painting I did was based on Gertrude Stein, which was right around the era of Man Ray and Picasso. I tried to always focus on women artists and their influences, their history, their dialogue. So Centro Cultural Atzlan is important, I feel, because it really represents a community element in the neighborhood. And it gives access to art on an easier level, right? So literally you can just, in these neighborhoods, walk across the street, see an art show, talk to an artist, and, look at all different realms of media. I feel like Centro really represents that as far as the Deco district of San Antonio. I feel like it's important because there's not a lot of centers that are particularly like that. You can go to a professional museum in San Antonio, which have works of art that don't really represent who we are. And so I feel like it's important to have that expression, artistic freedom to do that. And I feel like Centro does do that. My favorite show that I've seen so many. I feel like when I've come here, it's either been artists that have made their work, either it be somebody who is making ready art, right? Commercial to themselves, but it's handmade. Jewelry, painting, sculpture. I feel like the different rooms in Centro, so there's a lot of space that's accessible to artists that want to display, and it's a very easy process, right? How I got invited was through another Chicana artist, and I had never exhibited here before. So I feel like the whole process was very accessible to me. Everybody was very, personable, and the opening was beautiful, and there's always flowers everywhere. And it was always a wide range of themes, always here. So I feel like I got an all-around gallery experience, without it being like too unapproachable. So saying, the door was always open, you can walk in, and at any hours, free of charge, right? Which people pay, admission to see arts of work. And I always feel that art needs to be accessible and free to all. Wow, that's a good question. I feel like I look up to other fellow artists that I talk to. I have a mentor. His name's David Elizondo, who is a conceptual artist. So when you've done art for so long in different realms like I have, honestly, you do get stuck in your own ideas. So I feel like it's important to really talk to other artists, to gather inspiration, to inspire each other's work to create and to continue. Right now, it'd probably be my other fellow artists who know art discuss it, make it an everyday part of your life, because if you are an artist, you do live that every day. As far as like superhero, I know people will probably say something, I don't know. Me, I'm like kind of a little different. It'd probably come out of a book or a poet. So I think the only thing that I can think of right now was from my recent painting, which was Gertrude Stein. And I feel like she was kind of the root of the modern abstract, like painting, like beginnings. And I really loved her poetry a lot. For me, when it comes to abstract, it's like what people are going to interpret from that. Sometimes it doesn't make any sense. So when you read something like her poetry, it gives you kind of these ideas to create something that's not tangible, like solid, and it gives room for imagination. So for me, when something is imaginative, it's not concrete, it's not solid. So you can kind of go in all realms of interpretation of what someone's looking at. So I feel like I want to say people are kind of a superhero, because when they look at your work, all of their ideas are different from all of the experiences that they've had. So their interpretations are all going to be different. So. Change would be, I guess, as I move into my artistry, and Centro was the first painting I had exhibited in probably several years. I was always a performance artist and could draw, but I never really challenged myself as far as painting. So I feel to really give inspiration to others who haven't really tried something that they're not really particularly good at, or they're unsure about in their art. I feel like exploration is really important. People get caught up, right, in doing things wrong or making mistakes, and that's part of the process. But I feel to inspire someone, you really have to just try. You never know if you're going to find out something new about being an artist by just, picking up something that you're really not used to. So the inspiration is to really try new avenues in art that you're not familiar with, and to inspire somebody on the non-traditional ideas. For me, it was surrealism, which is a form of imagination, which is something that I feel a lot of Chicano artists don't dive into, or have not yet discovered. And to be educated too, to read and always talk to other people about their inspirations. There's so much art and so much artistry out there that, you could just walk into the public library and read at easy access. So for me, it would be to inspire others to try something new that they're not used to challenge themselves. So the painting that I did that was exhibited for La Mujeres de Aztlán, it was a group show, and the idea came from conversations that I had of the beginning of abstract surrealism and conceptual. It is a portrait, so the portrait is going to be about Gertrude Stein. What I wanted to do for my portrait was to kind of really try to make the saying that usually people are familiar with Gertrude Stein is a rose for a rose for a rose. And I wanted to do kind of a mystical, like, morphing of a surrealist idea of her in this environment. So there's two sides of the painting. So the right side of the painting was my attempt to do abstract roses, which I'd never done before. When you think of it, or cubism, what that actually is going to look like. So I went on my own ideas to do that on the right side. On the left is her portrait. Behind her is basically another world. There's a lot of worlds in the portrait. There's different planes of view. Most of the themes are very vague on purpose. I like color a lot, so the portrait's very colorful, and I wanted to add that color to the painting. But when you look at the levels of the painting, behind it will be another world that's unseen. Her portrait looking at you, and if you look into the corner of her eye, you'll see another world as well. And the center is kind of like what I could describe as a mythical natural animal. On top, the ear being something that you can't really know. Kind of looks like another reptile or a snake. On the right-hand side will be the garden and parts of cactuses, which represent a lot of what you see in San Antonio, which people kind of just grace by most of the time. I think cactuses are beautiful, and it's part of our landscape here in San Antonio. On the bottom is kind of the center part right below, which is what I represent as water. And then it's two figures, one of an octopus, and the other of a silhouette of a little person. It's like a little child, to represent our inner child inside. I've always really loved octopuses because they're very mysterious in nature. No one knows where they came from. And I wanted to put that at rest as the other silhouette to the child. There's also another figure that's unseen right on the left side. The painting altogether changed a lot in the process. It was about a year and a half when I worked on this painting. And every time I look at it, because I wanted to do those themes of abstract surrealism and cubism, that you'll always see something different in it when you really look at it. It looks different in daylight, and it looks different in artificial light. So it's a painting that I'm most proud of. When you read Gertrude Stein's poem, it's very long. So it's a part of that, just one line out of probably several pages of this poetry that she used to write. And I can only describe it as, when you read a fortune cookie, it's kind of meaningless and meaningful. So when I did it for La Mujeres de Aztlán, I wanted to do a central theme of a female figure who was not necessarily Chicana, but influential to art and the art world.